Yep.
Hello friends.
Yeah,
Hello
go ahead.
friends. Gaikwad, and I'm the support manager for Cloud Course Softwares Private Limited. Firstly, I'd like to brief you about our company. Cloud Course Softwares Private Limited was founded in 2011. We build cloud-based products for Google Apps, and we strongly believe in creating an ecosystem for Google Apps. Our products are mainly focused on bridging the gap between enterprise expectations and Google Apps by producing admin tools as well as business applications leveraging on Google Cloud technologies. For today's webinar, the topic is our newly released feature of our product, gControl. A newly released feature is device restriction feature, and for this webinar we have got our participants, our CEO Mr. Rahul Bhavsar, our CTO Mr. Debashish Pramanik, our product manager Mr. Shivanand Rao, and our sales manager Mr. Sarveshwar Desai. So firstly, I'd request Mr. Rahul to tell our viewers about what is gControl and how it is helping our enterprises to attain highest level of security.
Thanks, Lupi. About gControl, as Lupi said, that we started off 2011. The prime focus of the company is to build products. Not only for it, we obviously started with Google ecosystem, but now the vision is to go and standardize it as a standard cloud security product. So the core now is to build control and security platform for enterprise cloud across the ecosystems, which is Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, and many more in future. So as of today, obviously, we are very much within the borders of Google ecosystem. gControl as a product is precisely to bridge the gap between the enterprise expectations and what is really delivered by Google at this point in time. Google Apps is a great product. People want to use it. People want to collaborate on it. But the moment enterprise move on to Google, the first thing they realize is they lost the control on the users, and that is where gControl comes in very, very handy. The name itself is basically providing control to the administrator. So, yeah. So what happens is we have right now about 10 to 12 features, which precisely goes and fits into different segments of the organization and start giving different controls, starting from password policies, which is grossly missing in Google Apps, going ahead and even providing restriction ability to restrict the users to either IP address or a time, or even going ahead and locking the user to a MAC ID. So that's what, in a nutshell, there are a lot of features which is doing. Today we're going to talk about device management, which is about how a user is binded to a MAC ID of a desktop or a laptop. So Devashish can throw more light on technology, but in general, this is the platform which has got a lot of attention from enterprises to bring in that, or rather enforce the enterprise policies on the cloud, the traditional enterprise security policies on the cloud using gControl or Google Apps. Over to you, Devashish.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you, Tripti. Just to talk about, if you see gControl and where it is helping in the right sense, I would say let's talk about Google Apps. And if you see Google Apps, the best way to describe Google Apps, it's a very nice cloud-based Office products too, which allows you to any web access, any device access, and any application to access your data. So if you see, There are a lot of features which provide end user to access their data from anywhere, from any device, and it allows integrate with the third-party app, which is very good for end users. They love these features, and that's why it's more popular across the end users. But when you bring the same tool to the IT team or the security team, they raise alarms. For them, is like anywhere means will the user be allowed to access outside my office? The answer is yes. Google Apps allows can be accessed from anywhere. Can it access from any device? Yes, I can access from my laptop, my desktop, my tablet. Can it really allow my this, any application to access my Google Apps data? Yes, the answer is yes. To do the IT team, the administrator, the IT security team of enterprise, bring that control. They don't have this control to protect the data, to go outside their enterprise and complete control on that data. But this is where gControl comes in, and gControl provides a layer of security, or we sometimes call it as a cloud firewall for Google Apps, to bring more and more control or provide more control to the IT team to take care of data security or data leakage. So how we do that? First, we ensure we cannot access your data from outside your office network by policy like IP restriction. So the moment you put IP restriction of your enterprise, you can only access within that network, and the user cannot access from a cyber cafe or from any other location apart from office, which was taking care of the anywhere part. Now, to talk about any device, in today's world, a device like laptop, desktop, or you can have a device like mobile, right? Now, mobile access can be protected through, if you see mobile user, they either use IMAP protocol to access, and Google app does provide certain control on that. So you only allow certain people to access Google app data through your mobile. And that admin has a control. But what about laptop and desktop? User uses a browser to access this data, and this is where the problem is. How do I restrict the user to that particular device? Can I restrict a particular user to a particular Google Apps account? And this is where gControls bring the new feature device restriction, where we can bind a Google app user to a particular laptop or desktop. It could be any laptop, whether it's Mac or Linux or Windows. We support all the three operating system. And what we do is we bind that user to a particular device using the MAC ID. So the admin and the user need to provide the MAC ID, and once that is information is there, admin can basically approve that machine and now make sure that no other device can be used to access the Google App account. So it's a way by which we're trying to bring more and more control to the IT team, to the security team, to protect the Google Apps data or to the enterprise data from accessing unauthorized access, basically.
So Debashish, if you can throw a few questions, few lights on some information. So, how can large enterprise who wants to bring in control roll it out at a large scale? Let's say we talk about thousands of users or hundreds of users. What is the recommended way which we tell? How can it be rolled out at a large scale? So, for a small scale, it is understood that we can go and add one by one. So what are the functions which we provide on the application which can help the clients or the IT team to roll it out at a very large dispersed location? So it is not necessary that the users are going to be, the IT team will always have the list of MAC IDs of all the users who are working in, let's say, tens of different locations, right? So how do we enable our clients or customers to roll out the functionality in such a scenario?
No, that's a very good question. Typically, we face this problem with large enterprises. For device restriction, the recommendation, what the way we have implemented is that once the policy is applied to a user, the user cannot access the Google Apps account from the browser. So when they log in, they get a message that you cannot access the account from browser, and download the agent. So it's a very uh, uh, self instruction is given to each user to step do what steps need to be to be followed. They need to download an agent, a very thin client that need to be installed, which is basically developed on a platform like Flex, or so that it takes care of Windows and Mac environment. So they deploy it. It's installed within a few minutes. Once it's installed, the user is instructed to log in. And once they log in for the first time, they give a request for registration, or with their own MAC ID. So the MAC ID for the first login goes with the username. Now what the admin can do is export this MAC ID and approve it in a bulk, or it can basically approve singly. So from a approval perspective for admin guys, they get all these for each approval they get receive an email, and they can basically approve for the first time. Or they can do a bulk upload of all the MAC IDs once they have collected, and then they upload it. So that's what we have implemented for a user account, like 10,000 user account recently, where it took a time frame of around 2 weeks to implement a 10,000 user deployment here with device restriction.
Okay, okay, brilliant. And how does the ability of using more than one device per user? So, do we support today's world? We have multiple laptops, or let's say one in office, one as a Chromebook, and those things. Do we support Chromebooks at this point in time, or what about Linux machines? And what do you think? How the enterprises will handle those questions? So.
So to answer first question, we currently we're not supporting Chromebook, and Chromebook can be managed. As our mantra is very simple. We don't support any feature which is given by Google, and Google has a very rich feature-oriented management console for managing Chromebooks. So you can basically use the entire management console from admin panel to manage the Chromebook. So you don't require gControl for the device binding for Chromebook, for the Chromebook part. For Ubuntu, for Linux, yes, we support the Ubuntu operating system. It is already in production. So users who are using Ubuntu can use agent. Install the agent which supports Ubuntu part. Yeah, that it can be taken care. About multiple devices, uh, the device restriction has a feature to provide number of devices that you can register. So whether one or two or three, so you can define multiple policies based on different type of user, how many devices they can do it. If they crosses, suppose for some reason you have lost a device and you want to do it again, the policy can be configured that you allow one additional registration, and the next registration, so you register and access the account, and the approval can be happen later on. So in case of emergency situation where you have lost a laptop, you basically log into the account and send a request for approval, and the admin can approve while the user is still accessing the Google App account.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Is there any reporting which the admin gets as part of this that these are the users who are using from this, and these are the users who are trying to make an attempt from the web, from other machines, so that the admin gets aware that something is happening on this account, or is this something which we are planning to do it in future?
Sure. So we already have a mechanism in the device restriction is where we provide a way to notify the administrator, the reporting manager, any other individual of violation of policy. Or so if someone is violating the policy, like if they're trying to access the account from some other devices, those user will get those emails. So they get a notification somebody this user account was used to access from this device. We have that mechanism already in place. We also have reports where you can go and see like for management purpose, or based on date or based on username. You can find which device was used by which user, how many violations have happened for which user, when it happened, from which IP address. So those are part of our general reporting mechanism.
Okay, thanks a lot for the details. So, in nutshell, if I want to summarize, the controls which we today provide are really the complementing functionalities, or rather, we are just trying to fill the gaps which is there. So today you can control the mobiles using the MDM functionality of Google itself. You can control the Chromebooks, but obviously you cannot control the device, and that's where gControl is trying to fill that gap. So there are many more functionalities which we are trying to bring in to provide more and more controls. We are hearing the clients and our customers' feedback very actively. And now I would request our sales team, Sarvesh, to provide a quick demonstration of how does this feature look like, how to create a policy, and then how it in real effect it works. When the user tries to log in through the web, he gets blocked, and then he's going to demonstrate how to log in using that client which we have developed. So I'll hand it over to Sarvesh. I cannot hear you, Sarvesh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. So let's start with the. Let me share my screen with you.
Sure.
So any Google Apps admin, when he logs into his account, can just go from the more setting and then click on more, and he can access gControl, that is the basic. Uh, so when he clicks on the gControl, this panel will be open. In this panel, we have provided device control, device restriction policy can be accessed from two sides. Is first, we can log into our setting and just go to the device restriction policy from here. Or there are some quick links provided on the right hand side. I can just go and click on device restriction. So I'll be redirected to the device restriction policy page.
So the
Where for
voice of
some of
Sarvesh is a little low, so let me just recap. The screen which you're looking at is the screen where you see the policies,
Mhm.
and there are user MAC mapping and then device request. So this is where you can see the policy sections. When you go and hit the add policy, Sarvesh, can you hit that add policy? Yeah. Yes, this is where you can see how do we add the policy, go and create the policy. There are various functions which is there. Maybe Devashish could add a little bit more insight on how these typical functions look like.
Okay. So if you see, every policy of gControl has a basic like actual description enabled. Every policy can be only element for a particular period of time. So we always have this direct form into most of the policies has. The message is basically we're trying to provide more and more configurability to the customers, so they can define their own messages, which will be displayed if a user try to log in from browser, which are part of the device control policy. So you can provide a very nice, rich-looking, rich HTML message in the message box. Now then come specific to your machine restriction or device restriction. The first is machine binding. We have two options, as I say, predefine and approval. Predefine a scenario which is ideal scenario where you have all the list of MAC ID for the users. And in that case, you have that, you upload the entire MAC ID and the user binding to this MAC ID with this user. And that's it, so the moment the user logs in, the MAC ID is already with the policy. The second is approval, which basically is in a very typical scenario where MAC ID is not known of the users. So what basically admin requests is that let me implement the policy, and what I do is I start collecting the MAC ID. And over, so that's what we did it for this large organization. We kept this entire policy on for 2 weeks, where we keep on getting all the MAC ID of all the users. And then what we did was we start the approving those MAC ID which are required. Then, as I said, number of devices, you can give number of devices which are allowed for this policy. uh, Action in case of violation, like what need to be done if somebody is trying to violate the policy. Like if you're trying to log in from a machine which for which you are, which is not part of the policy, so a different device. So option is deny login. Can you click on, Suresh, click on that button, action in case of violation? Yeah, or allowed to register. So so either you can be very restricted that no, you cannot log in from any other device apart from the policy. So a clear restriction, or you say let him register it. Maybe somebody has lost the device. So in case you get the option to allow to register. Then there's an option called as how many skips are allowed. So there's an option that we do in case of approval. If the policy is approved, where we say how many skips are allowed. In which case we say number of skips, one time, two times, three times. So we can do that. Yeah, thank you. So now how many skips are allowed? And then, like any other policy that we have in gControl, either it can be user based, or like it's too granular for us in case of user based, or it is organization unit based, in which case you define the policy based on OUs. So you can apply, if it's based on location or the way you have organized your OUs, you can put a policy on OU. So you can either import a CSV, or because we have set a user base, so either we can import a CSV or we can keep on adding individual email. Now, who received the mail for approval or violation? The Google Apps admin, the reporting manager, or any individual that you like to add. So you can, if you click on individual, what happens? You get an area by which you keep on adding the email address of user, which can need to be notified for approval. Yeah. So you type.
Dinesh, just to add a question to it, does this email ID has to be a internal email ID of the domain, or it can be any email ID?
It has to be a domain. So basically, we verify it. We always do a verification whether the user exists or not, and then only we allow to add the user.
Okay, okay.
So typical example is HR, the legal department, or the compliance department, where you like to add it for violation, policy, violation of the policy.
Okay.
Yeah. So once the policy is applied, can you log in through any account like Danish? So suppose a policy is applied, and now let's try to log into a user to which the policy has been applied. So so what Service is now showing us is an existing policy uh, uh, where we apply the policy, the message, and how the parameters are configured, like approval. So it's an approval way. So a user will allow the admin will approve the Mac or the machine or not. What is the action to be taken if somebody is trying to violate the policy? So we give him register or skip, number of skips allowed, and all. Okay. Yeah, a simple policy that we have applied. So what Service is now doing is trying to log into the domain, and because this user has been applied device restriction, the user will not be allowed to log into the Google Apps domain through browser. And when we try to log in after clicking sign in, the user will receive a message. So you can see a message coming up, and it tells to download an agent. So you can download the agent from here, and once the agent is downloaded, you will see the icon coming on. So he is trying to download the agent and install the agent. It's an Adobe AIR Flex package, which is available on most of the browser. That's the reason why we use this technology. This communication to all the communications between these two are is completely secure. Uh, Yeah. So once you click on this, you can see this pop-up coming up for login credential. Now survey should give the credential for the account. The entire email address has to be entered here. The test user at gcontrol.advancedforensictools.com. As I said, the first time it asks for register or skip. So you can click on register button. So now in the control panel, you see this user mapping coming. So all the MAC ID of the machine has been given here. The admin will basically click on the approve button to approve it. So the request of pending is there. So we have approved it now. Now we can again go and log in from the account from the same device again for the user. So if you see, there is an option to export. So what we've done for that customer was once the data was collected, we exported all these data, did the bulk update, and then imported the data back to the policy. This is typically used for large organizations, this export import functionality, where very difficult to track the MAC ID of the users. That's what we did for them. Yeah.
All right, Service. Thanks a lot. Back to you, Trupti.
Yeah. Um, so, so that was all about device restriction. Please feel free to contact us for any questions or anything that is required for demo or anything at support@cloudcourse.com or sales@cloudcourse.com.
So friends, I hope that you you have understood our device restriction feature of our beautiful product gControl. If you have any queries, you can contact us through mail on sales@cloudcourse.com. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much,
Thank you.
and thank you so much all the participants for generously uh, explaining each and every thing in device restriction. Thank you very much.
Click on mine.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Divya.
Ram.
Thank you, Sarvesh. Bye.